and this is also something that gets me, is like how many people didn't succeed at something because they had that one voice overpower them. Most of people on social media, I don't want to put that first post out. And the wild thing is everyone sees the money in social media and what social media is now, and the conversations that I have at like 1 in 10 where I'm like, create your YouTube, create this. And they're like, oh, I don't want to put the first post out. I'm scared of what people think.
Before we get into it, I'd like to chat about today's sponsor, Vitadrop. I've been using the Vitadrop sleep product for about a year now, and it absolutely blew me away the first time I used it. I looked at my sleep tracker and it had a 30% increase in my REM sleep. I'm somebody who spends a lot of time trying to optimize my sleep, and I'd never seen anything like that have a significant impact as it did. I remember messaging the co-founder, podcast guest, as well as a good friend of mine, Charlie, about it the next day, completely blown away. And then I've also shared this information with a number of people who have come back extremely surprised and very impressed with how much better they've slept once they've taken that sleep product. So they have 4 different products for 4 different day-to-day experiences, one of them being sleep, the next one being hydration, the third one being focus, and the fourth one being a collagen supplement. You can grab them both in ready to drink and in sachets that you mix with water. So if you're interested, use the code TOT in the description below to get 25% off your next order.
Jake, welcome to the podcast.
What is going on? Awesome to be here. I'm ready to dive into some topics and break everything down.
We've been talking some absolute bangers for the last 20 minutes, and I thought I should press record. So, look, if you could give us an elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and how you're contributing to the world, what does that sound like?
Yeah, so it's always a hard one, because if I'm around the world, someone goes, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, lots of things. So normally I just say I'm a student, a student of everything. So it's pretty much where I base myself is around the fitness industry. So from a very young age, I started off, my dad was a bodybuilder, mum was a fitness model. I was doing a front double bicep from the age of 3. And from that point, I kind of always idolized, looked up to my parents. My dad was on like the Contender and Gladiators, lived a very fitness health lifestyle. So pretty much that's kind of where I kind of got my early roots and foundation. And that's kind of built me onto everything within the fitness industry. And that's supplements, that's gym, that's online coaching, it's face-to-face PT, it's mass transformations, and it breaks down into so many different aspects of what I do, instead of just being like, hey, I'm a PT, which is in fact pretty much what I do. It's just a highly glorified PT, which is kind of monetized every option within that. Some people would push me on the influencer side, which makes me cringe now. But I've done that for 10, 12 years plus. Competitive bodybuilding. In my time of bodybuilding, I've done world titles, Australian titles in the natural federations.
Yeah, brilliant. Very random little side note, but what does skateboarding have as an importance in your life?
Yeah, so huge. So in my social media days, that's actually where I blew up. So starting out, I got my Instagram like back in 2012. It was like the very early days of Instagram, and I started a skateboard account, which is technically the account that I use now. I just converted it and deleted all my photos. But it was skateboarding's just been one of those things from probably the age of 7 or 8. I've kind of always skateboarded, and never broken a bone, weirdly, but I got better than your average skateboarder, and I still go out now, go for a little kickflip down the stairs and just try not to break. But yeah, that's kind of kicked me off, I guess, in the social media worlds and sport worlds. I've never been a team sport person. I never believed in like, I'll work all this effort to kick the ball up the field and then they fuck it. So I have got to the point where it's like I've always held around individualized sports. Skateboarding is one of them, and that's kind of linked off into surfing and all of those down the track. But yeah, got my start with skateboarding, started throwing hashtags out, putting skate content out, and it's kind of been my intro into the social media world of what I do.
Okay, great. And what do you think the importance of teams are in your life's success, even though you've worked on a lot of solo projects and solo sports?
Yeah, really good time to ask me because I'm super solo. Like
Yeah.
I've massive I've probably learnt over my last couple of years now of 31 years. Oh, I'm 30. I don't know. I've got this weird thing. I'll always like go a year ahead.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know. I'm actually 30, but 30 years old, and I'm always kind of rounding up. So 30 years old, and pretty much my foundation through my 20s was again going to high levels myself, and that's with bodybuilding or skating or anything, my self-efficacy, my discipline, all these levels, which have allowed me to keep leveling up, keep pushing. And to be honest, I still work within, again, I've got teams that I do work with, but it's mostly I would rather lift the weight myself than rely on deadlines and timeline. I used to be a teacher, so it was very team-based type of thing where you have leading teachers and everything that you got to run that. And for me, it just doesn't work. Like I think for me, I set my own work ethic. I set my own bar. And it's no one can keep up with that. And that's the same as how I work within my bodybuilding fitness career, that it's like, okay, I want to beat myself every time I get on stage, and I've set the bar so high no one can catch me. So it gets to the same thing with business or with, to be honest, personal lifestyle. My crew's really tight. Even friends around me, training partners, girlfriend, things like that. Everything I keep on such a tight level, which is probably not great. But for me, I'd rather do the work myself than kind of rely on other people.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you think bodybuilding? So when did you get into bodybuilding specifically? So when did that fitness journey begin?
Yeah. So I pretty much went through uni trying to study as a teacher. The reason I got into bodybuilding, I went to a fitness expo and I was like, I want to do this. This is sick. Like, love the vibes of the fitness expo.
How old were you
no
then?
idea really about it. I was about 18. So just finishing up school, no idea what I did, failing the whole way through school. The only thing I passed was phys ed, which is in a private school was pretty funny because everyone was there for a reason. I think the best thing I learned from that was just how to talk and talk to other people, communicate with people. Went to the fitness expo, got all hyped up on pre-workout and things like that. The old school pre-workouts.
Yeah, that Mesomorph. Oh my God.
Legit. The jacked 3D and everything with the MMA and stuff that would give you nightmares.
For days.
Yeah, exactly. And I met some of the people that were very early on social media that were just coming out and came from America. I was like, that's a sick life. And pretty much from that point was a big foundation. Like the day after I got back, and this is kind of how my brain works, I just got to the point where I was like, I want to do that. How do I do it? So I went and just messaged like optimumnutrition.com, contact support. I want to be an athlete, bulk nutrition, every single company at the time. I just emailed them. I was like, hey, I want to be an athlete, sponsor me. And like a few replied, a few didn't. But they're like, who the hell is this like 18-year-old skinny kid? Why they hit me up? And a few of them were like, oh, cool, like chat. And then every month I just send them an email like, how's it? And they're like, look, back then there was like social media wasn't a big thing. So they're like, oh, get on stage, see how you go. And that was just them just shoving me on the rug. So I was like, sweet. All right, what do I have to do to get on stage? Research. So I didn't actually I used to think it was like, oh, like the probably average person thinks. And it's less now than it was back in the 2011, 2012s that you think of your natural thought when you think of bodybuilding is this big, tanned, veiny, scary, massive bulk dude. And I was pretty similar. I was like, oh, all these guys have eating disorders and steroided out of their head. So I did some research and I was like, all right, let's see what we can do. I've always kind of wanted to at least get lean, and I was always kind of into the fitness. And without knowing it and doing it for a very outside reason of setting a goal to be sponsored, I ended up getting on, finding a natural bodybuilding federation, getting on stage and just getting owned. Like, got smashed, had no idea about it. I ate Subway the day before I went up, and I think I got
How old were you
fifth
then?
out of. I was 19, so I was against
You went
guys
straight
at
into
30.
it. Just a year in.
Oh, yeah, no coach, no time, just like, let's go. I had a foundation of training my whole life, and generally good genetics. But I was shitting a brick, like going through getting on stage, that whole process. I scraped a 5th somehow. And from that point, I was psyched. I was like, yes, got a 5th in open. Hopefully, like, all these companies will chat to me. And then from that point, one of the judges kind of pulled me back, and he was like, there's one 19-year-old in this lineup of guys that are 25 to 30-year-old. Took me aside. He goes, oh, like, what were you eating? I was like, Subway. And he was like, the hell are you doing? Like, okay. He's like, look, Nationals is in 2 weeks. And he straight up gave me a peak week plan. And he's like, go out and do this, go to Canberra and compete at Nationals, because I reckon you'll do better, and do men's fitness, which is a step down. And I was like, all right. So I like re-tanned up 2 weeks later and drove to Canberra. And I was like, let's just see how we go. And from that time, I placed 2nd at Nationals. And that was from that point, that was that kind of switch. That was kind of like, holy God, all right, got into that, got the addiction of kind of being on stage. I kind of got humbled very early of just being like, didn't place, into getting into the 2nd. I was like, all right, cool. After that time, got super addicted into the natural bodybuilding world. And from there, I was like, oh, like when I say addicted, and this is probably my little brain sickness, that I went, that after that year, I did 10 shows in 12 months, which the average person would compete probably once every 4 years, and I just did every single show for that whole year, refined it, did my own research, met people. I would show up to the show early, do all those kind of stuff, still messaging all the companies, being like, hey, I just placed 5th, I just placed 2nd, until one of them finally kind of took me on, and they were like, this guy's keen as. We've got to take him on for it so he stops messaging us, because we've blocked him on 3 accounts and he still hits us up. Yeah, legit. This is the thing. Back then it was so small that no one wanted to do it. So I would like, hey, forwarded me, I'd send it to their support, and they're like, hey, you need to talk to Ryan. So I'd find like Ryan's email and start Googling him and do a full like crazy search on this Ryan guy to find his email, find his LinkedIn, add his Instagram, add his Facebook, and it's just like I'm popping up everywhere. And I think that resilience and that push kind of been like, oh, well, this guy's we'll chuck him some sups and there's nothing to lose. So from that time I signed with Cellucor. They're like, we've got an expo in 3 weeks. It's the first ever Arnold Classic in Melbourne. They're like, show up and see how you go. They're like, I think it was me and Cal Von Moger at the time. It was just the very, very start of the kind of fitness industry. And for me, 18, coming off that 2nd, I was like, confidence through the freaking, there's like that line of confidence and cockiness that they're like, hey, who wants to go and do an open workout with like all the biggest bodybuilders from Olympia? I was like, yeah, sweet. 60 kilo Jake against like these guys benching huge, and I'm up there like curling and chatting to people. And I think from that point, it's getting to meet a lot of the guys, and go from that was working out with them and doing collabs. And it was just, I think, having a likable character, and just a lot of people kind of really liked, I guess, that go-how from such a young age, that it was like, I'm willing to do anything. I'm volunteering my time. I'll do it for free. I'll learn as much as I can, and then build from that. So I was with Cellucor for 7 years, ended up traveling the world with them, doing all the kind of Southern Hemisphere, all America expos over those 7 years, and pretty much pre-COVID was going to all over the shop every couple of months with them.
Yeah, brilliant.
So it kind of opened up there. The fitness career, I ended up doing those 10 shows in 12 months, placed like 2nd 8 times in a row, and that did my head in. And then long story short on that one, I ended up where it counted, Australian titles, ended up winning the Australian title. And then from there, the next 4 years, I never placed 2nd. Like I just won all my shows from that point. And now I've done 19 shows. So I've taken out 5, 6, 7 state titles, world title, Australian titles, everything from there. So that opened that world, which then opened up. I loved that sport so much, which led me into opening Abel Fitness. So that's online coaching. And that was the same. Like once I started having success in the bodybuilding world and frothing it, then I'll just get emails with people like, hey, like I was a PT at the time, and having a handful of clients just in a local base, and people would be like, hey, I want you to coach me. And I was like, all right, but you're from New South Wales, so sure, I'll coach you. This is how much it is. And then I'll like hit enter and be like, how the fuck do I do this? Okay. Online coaching, like now it's a big thing. Back then it was like, this was 10 years ago. Like I was like, online coaching, how, like, am I going to sit there on Zoom and do it? Or so I just like Google it, see what the America's doing. All right, let's quickly reverse engineer it. There wasn't really many at that time. It was funny because I think life kind of sets things up for you and when you're ready for them. Like the week later I did that, and I've always been a nerd and loved my computer stuff. Facebook just created Facebook groups, and it had the ability to send documents, PDFs, live videos, voice notes, all those things in that 1 week that I started. And I was like, sweet, bang. I was looking at designing an app and doing all this shit. I was just like, I'll just run it through Facebook. Bang. So from that, using the knowledge of those 10 shows to then prep people, I took my first show, then 5 clients come through and they all did really well. And now that's turned into all these behind me is every time your client wins, you win a trainer award. And I've had over 500 wins now, and slowly being able to build my foundation of what I do for a living and everything from that point, where it could have just been one switch where I turned around at that first show and didn't place and gone, stuff this, I'm going to give up on all of that and just become a teacher. Was that kind of foundation moment that I could have just either made it or been a very different place.
For sure. And now fast forward to where you're at now. You've got your training with Abel Fitness. You've got your gym that is almost on the way to capacity. You've got your supplement business that's moving towards 7 figures in revenue pretty quickly. What else is there that you're working on, and your content?
Yeah, 100%. So that's where it does diverse into a few different aspects. So we started off as me going around the world promoting for free supplement companies, which 7 years, got so much experience, learned how to sell in different countries like America versus Australia, Dubai, all these different places, and how to interact with people on a one-to-one, how to convert people, how to sell things like that. And I think, especially being an Australian in the US market, they love to be, because I was just like sitting there being like full of life and just go, hey, this is all I take. I've won all this stuff and all I take is this. Versus, I guess, a lot of the more steroided up type of versions of it, which clearly people know that they're not just on protein or not just that, where I kind of fit this weird market that I'm not completely this massive meathead, that I am more closer to the general population and using, again, supplements and selling them in the right way, that I'm like, oh, you don't actually need it, but it will help. And doing things like that is just kind of learnt and built my kind of philosophy in the way that I sell, off the background of even people walk through my gym and I'm just like, oh, we don't need you to sign up. I'm like, if you want, you can sign up, but we're not really that fussed because it's limited capacity. We're probably out in the next 6 months. We own everything. We don't need to make $1. So if you want to sign up, here's the link. If not, have a good day. And they like walk out and they're signing up as they walk out. So they're like, oh, this is sick. Where everyone else is trying, like, it's like I'm like the best reverse psychology business person. And it's, again, providing value. If you can provide value and you believe in the product, you don't have to actually sell it. It's you're giving them an offer so silly they can't refuse it. They're like, sweet, all right, done. Here's my money, done. And it's probably the aspect is taking it away from the dollar value and things like that. And it's everything I've done within the businesses. If it's coaching, this is my hobby. I can't believe that I'm getting paid to help people get on stage. I'm just like, I'm an athlete. I'm still doing this in my head all for free. It's just people are donating into my bank account. Yeah. The same way. And the funny thing is if you do it for free, they don't get the results because they need that tied monetization, so then it's valuable to them. Yeah. So it's like I'm doing a disservice for not charging them.
Yeah, you've got to charge because it has that pain,
creates
loss. Yeah.
Intrinsic. No, not intrinsic. The opposite. Extrinsic motivator. So yeah, it's doing things like that. I think that's kind of created a different points with everything that I do. So that's Abel Fit. Nutrition, I ended up leaving the Cellucor during COVID because we got to the point of going, COVID's come through. I'm no longer traveling, doing all that. So I was kind of diverted very quickly. A lot of the fitness industry kind of went into trouble, like a lot of trouble during the COVID, as everyone did. So I joined up, built a supplement store from that point, and just said, oh, well, we'll do what we can locally, do what I was doing on the expo on a local scale and help people out. And people were coming in and on these stupid diets, if it's paleo diet, if it's Atkins diet. And my biggest thing is I've been around so long, I've seen every freaking diet. It went Atkins to paleo to caveman to vegan to meat only to every single one that you're just swapping a macronutrient around to try and get an effect. And they're all the same people. They keep trying the next one. So I kind of, by the time I was helping him out with the nutrition more than the subs, like people come in, I'm like, oh, you need to fix your diet before I sell you some protein. Go home, come back next week. So it was keeping that, which created a brand of people actually losing weight and doing all those type of things by education. And then from there, I kind of thought, well, why are people coming to me buying subs and then going to the gym? So I was like, let's just put the gym here. And if we can get 150 members, that's double what we're getting as walkthroughs straight away. We'll make it super convenient and have the first actual 24/7 sub store so all our members can check out, self-check out 24/7. And it's, I guess, reusing the skills that I've learned through all that time to make something very different. And it's hard. Everyone wants to say they want to change, they're doing something different, or they're on the come up, or watch out, I'm changing the industry, without, they're just copying everyone else. So it is actually, I guess, having the knowledge, having the skills to be able to swap things around and change things that way, and add value the best you can. And I think my experience of, I traveled around the world going to all different gyms. So I kind of walk in and the way that you walk into my gym, that you get a light change, you get an energy change, you feel the sub come in once you pass a certain point. You feel the lights and glow, that it's got that Vegas feel, that if you walk in at 1 a.m., it's the same lighting as in the morning. So I'm very, very big on that, creating an energy to perform, creating where you can leave everything on the outside and come in and you want a place that is motivating and is really attractive to everyone else. And that's packaging up what I've learnt in the expos and the big bodybuilding world and packaging it out for the general population.
So I want to go back a little bit as well.
Yeah.
What you mentioned, a lot of confidence and resilience very early on in this whole piece, and it seems like it's a common thread across all of this. Where do you think that came from?
Yeah. So I was super insecure. That's the craziest thing, is especially coming up through school, I was never the loud kid, and I still have folds that I bounce back. So you put me in a room of lawyers, I'm like silent, it's just not my crowd or anything like that. I'll probably have got the skills now over the last years that I'll be able to find common ground and build psychologically to a point. But the whole time it's I wasn't the brightest kid. I wasn't the social kid. I wasn't the cool kid. I was just kind of all the one that kind of sat back the whole time. So especially coming out and doing something that I do now, that it's like social media, getting on stage in front of hundreds of people half naked, was full on. I remember getting that 18, 19, practicing how to smile in a mirror. Had nerves that I was like, oh, I'm going to go and take my shirt off at the beach, or what people think of me, and all these type of things. And it led me down, I think, very early on into social psychology, which I further studied, if anyone's heard of the game and things like that. It's me at the age of 18 is just trying to work out the world, try to work out social dynamics. And to be honest, it was there's great things that came from that. And I think it's from me going and testing out, I remember going to the city, and it was before we'd go out to the clubs and stuff, we'd go and just do social experiments where it is randomly talking shit in an elevator or something like that, just to make people's head turn. And then what you start to realize is people doesn't care. And that's one of the biggest things, that once I kind of got over that, and it's, again, you have to warm up for things like that and get out of your comfort zone. And every single time is, especially I used to go on the train down to Bendigo, where I used to hours on the train, and just play on the train. I'd play social psychology, psychological experiments and just be like, oh, I'll make eye contact with people until they break. People would have thought I'm even more of a weirdo. But it's a lot of these different things where you can try and control the environment around you by controlling people. And I think that came from huge insecurity, huge kind of like wanting to break out and wanting to almost be noticed in a way. So then once bodybuilding came, and even then my first show, I was like standing there. I remember like as I'm getting tanned right before, I'm shaking. And like I went to the show, I was by myself. Like I just drove in by myself. I think I had one friend. No, I didn't tell anyone, didn't tell the family, didn't tell all that. And I'm sitting there shaking, and they're just like, oh, wow, you're nervous, aren't you? And I'm like, uh-huh. And like even the photos, I'm like scared standing there on stage for the first time. Until I developed this thing, and I started getting attention on Instagram. Once I started converting to Facebook, from skateboarding into fitness, and then starting to, again, get different attention from different people, meeting people, they're adding me on that. And I created this persona called the Jake Abel Official. And even now, it's still my Instagram name. It's the most cringiest fucking thing, Jake Abel _official, and I'll never change it. Just because now it's to the point where it's like that is my persona. That what happened is through those 8 or 9 years of going up through that fitness industry, I remember walking into an expo for the first 4 years, and I'll be like, all right, turn on Jake Abel official mode. Bang. And I'd come in, what's going on, guys? It is Jake Abel, we're going here. And it's just like this fake character that I used to almost play. And it was just to hide that insecurity and hide the almost fear that you have to be so extroverted to come out. And then over time, I think luckily things paid off. So I think every time I went into that character and built upon that thing, it actually swapped out with confidence, and then it built on. And then the more I got into that, the more success I got, and the more the following I got, and the more people liked it and did things like that. And it's not that I changed. It was more that Jake Abel official mode actually started to become more of my personality and overshadowing that insecurity, overshadowing that little voice in your head that's like, oh, you're a little piece of shit. And I was like, oh, fuck. And it still is, you still have the voice. Like I can get to the point where I'll be in the gym and it's now like doing what I've done after all these years, and you have this little voice being like, God, you're looking fat today. And I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? And then straight away it's being so, and I think everyone has it. Like I've worked with the best of the best bodybuilders, and they even go, they're like, I'm always comparing myself to perfect stage lights of my best. And me, I'm 15, like I'm still the average person lean, but I'm 15 kilos heavier, and you need to do that to grow. And you have that voice in the back going like, oh, geez, you're blown out. You're never going to get back. You're sitting fat. And right before that little voice in the back of my head finishes, maybe I'm actually psychotic now I think about it, that little voice finishes straight away. It's almost like this Jake Abel official persona just is like, shut the fuck up, like straight away, and just shuts it down. Sorry if you can't swear in your podcast.
No, swear away. You're so fine.
Bleeping that out a lot.
You are
and this is probably even worse. That's how I talk to myself. So it's just like straight out, it goes, shut the fuck up. And instantly it's like silence. Yeah. And I think even funnily enough, it's happening on the business side as well. So as you're starting to grow, you're starting to take more risks, you're starting to do this and starting to self-doubt yourself. You have imposter syndrome. You have all these different things start taking over as you're starting to scale and grow and be like, Jesus, why are people investing in me? Oh, there's a lot of money starting to go. And it's the same little voice that will always start popping up. And I think that ability to have, and it's good to almost call it a persona or a second person, because it takes you outside yourself. So you can I can get advice from that Jake Abel explosive being like, fuck it, throw it down, 50 grand's nothing, bang. And it's just like, oh, cool, all right. It's probably not the best advice always, but if you're too much into it or you think about it too much, you're going to go to the safe side. And I think that's where a lot of the things come from. If it's bodybuilding, if it is the business, is avoiding that safe. Because in the end, I could have turned around, and if I listened to that voice early on, I'd still be a teacher. Like 100%. I would have turned around and been like, oh, well, I didn't place. The voice goes, you're a piece of shit. You didn't place. And then it's like, oh, cool. All right, let's not do that again. And how many people, and this is also something that gets me, is like how many people didn't succeed at something because they had that one voice overpower them. And I think there's so much being left out for a lot of those people, because it's like, oh, shit, like imagine if the same thing, you have to talk about the big people, Steve Jobs, If he just had the voice, he's like, oh, no, don't do that. Cool. Don't start Pixar. Bang. Anyone, or do you know what? Most of people on social media, I don't want to put that first post out. And the wild thing is everyone sees the money in social media and what social media is now. And the conversations that I have at like 1 in 10 where I'm like, create your YouTube, create this. And they're like, oh, I don't want to put the first post out. I'm scared of what people think. And I'm like, bro, I used to walk in there before it was freaking good to hold a camera in the gym with a tiny GoPro HD Hero 1 and talk to myself. And everyone would look and be like, who's this weirdo in a tiny little stringer who weighs about 30 kilos and he's talking about fitness and he has nothing to his name at all. So it's all well and good to do it once it's paid out. And now it's the easiest. Like, you see where it's going. Back then I was legit talking to a camera for no reason because there was no real fitness influencers or anything like that back then. So I guess it's being able to have those multi-placid people to be able to shut that negative voice out, build on yourself in that point, because you just don't know where it's going to end for you, and you don't know how high things can go. Like even I wrote this thing down. I did this activity when I was like 19, very starting out. It was called Your Perfect Day. It was from Lewis Howes. And again, like I was probably always very smart in once I went down the game, then I started looking at a lot of mentors, and because I've always been by myself, quite a solo person, is I would always outsource to huge mentors that I'd listen through podcasts, self-development, things like that. And there was a guy called Lewis Howes who's actually blown up now. But he had this School of Greatness podcast, and it was like, create your perfect day. And it's really good if you're feeling like you're lost, and a lot of people, if you're in the younger or even older now, and you're not sure where you're going, you don't know where your trajectory is, you don't know where your life is, this is a really good activity. And I did it when I was 19. It's just like, write your perfect day. If you wake up, how everything, and it's like, come on, don't wake up and you're not in the Maserati or anything like that, but be legit and where you're at. And I pretty much did this perfect day. And it was like, get up at 5 a.m., do a spin class, go out and do PT clients, eat lunch. And it was like this pretty freaking hectic day. And like, it's funny because I found the document legit probably last year, and I opened it up. I'm like, God, I've come so much further than my perfect day that it's like, I'm like, that looks like a nightmare now. Like, I wouldn't get up at 5 a.m. for no spin class. But it's funny where it's like that perfect thing of aim for the moon, land on the clouds, that your perfect day when I was 18 is like, if I woke up at 18 and saw where I'm at now, and I'm like, I've got this, I'll explode into confetti. That I just wouldn't believe that how the freak did I get to this state. And to be honest, looking back, it's like a weird thing. Like I start up these podcasts and I'm always in the same, that it's like in my head, I'm just a fucking PT. But you look back and it's like, oh, you're cool. The gym you built, the community you built, like 1,000+ coaching, 500 comp wins, travel. And you're like, God, that looks sick. And I'm like, it's still not me. Like Jake Abel official did that shit. And it's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to level up? Is that my worst year? And then making sure that each year it's not my worst, and leveling up. Every time I get on stage, it's everyone that goes on bodybuilding is going to go, oh, what do my competitors look like? Where I don't care. Like I get on the day, I'm like, I don't even care who I'm up against. It's not about that. It's about me beating myself last time and bringing in a better package. And I've done that so often that no one's competed more than me, that with that level is like, that's why I win. And even when I win, I'm like, cool, I don't really care, because I bet myself last time, that leveled me up. So the trophies, all that, that's kind of cool, but it's more about, sweet, I bet myself, that's 1 year I can go, all right, I can chill out for the rest of the year because I bet myself in that. Okay, what have I done on a business scale? Cool. All right, let's level that up. And I think it's not having that allowance within yourself to settle. And it's probably that. Like, to be honest, it's from like, I've never grown up in a well-off, like it weren't poor, but it's always having, I think, a point where it's like everything's gone within a second. I'm ready for the world to end tomorrow. So what am I doing to make sure that I can hunt a kangaroo and still get my protein? It's like legit, my brain goes to the craziest levels of making sure that you're not living outside your means, you're not living off loans and things like that, and making sure that each and every time you're just leveling up. That's my ADHD rant.
No, I love it. I appreciate it. The creating of a persona is a really interesting idea. I've heard it across, like David Goggins talks about it a bit, and he's like, you know, I'm David Goggins, I'm this like fat piece of shit, and then there's Goggins who is like this just monster. And I've started doing the same. I'm not quite as far down the path as possibly you, but it's like out of Metwally, and then there's like Metwally, like the exact same. And like, who the fuck is that? And the idea that actually sitting down and figuring out who you want to be in that persona, what does that person do? Like visualizing the ideas of how that person lives and how they navigate the world, and leaning into that when you need that like internal support. It's I think it's really powerful.
And you got to believe it. I think the big thing is, if it's like that old quote that's like, if you don't believe it, how's everyone else expected to? And it's to the point where you said that same visualization. And it's like anything you do is like, if you can get to the point where I used to be that kid at school that like, I hate goal setting. I hate visualization. They're all the hippy dippy. Oh, the secret. You're just going to imagine a Ferrari. It's going to be there. And I think the older I get now, it gets to the point where I'm just a bit like, oh shit. Like if you can actually not like, I like the visualization, find the person you want to be, reverse engineer it. Okay. Sick. I want a Ferrari. What do I have to do to get there? Okay, I need to make this amount of money. Okay, how do I do that? Bang. And for me, like I'm very visual, so like my brain's scattered, as you can tell when I talk. But it's whiteboarding, and it's just scribbling. I'm like that. No Homer Simpson, no beer equals goes crazy, and it's just like I have this whiteboard, and I'm just like, this is where I want to do. I want to earn $1 million this year. How do I do it? This is how many PTs. This is this business here. This is this business here. This is this business here. And it becomes less about earning the actual $1 million, but you're just setting that path to like push your assets out. Where are you going to send your troops? Where are you going to go that? And it's so hard because if I think of all the shit that I've done and sit there at 18 and go, Jake, this is where I want you in 8 years. And I'm like, how do I get there? Like, oh, Jesus, where do I start? Like, it's okay. There's so much work there, and it's brick by brick. You're building the wall. So I think, if you're in a point where it's like, where do I change? Is 100% visualize exactly where you want to go, build that persona, and I think the persona thing's because exactly if you look at the greats like the Goggins and the things like that, there's no way he's getting up and running and doing the things that they are getting without a little bit of psycho. Bodybuilders, they're all psycho, like they're all nuts because. Who the hell gets on stage and starves themselves down to that level without being a little nuts or coming off the back end of insecurity and things like that? So it's finding that point, finding that persona, leveling it up, and then, again, having the, I guess, work ethic and stuff behind it to back that up. And then it's like this nice little circle where, you don't believe your persona, but then your persona, you need to believe in it, and your persona starts doing stuff to make you believe in it. So you're just like, I met Wally and I just messaged this person and then this comes out because I was acting in this way. It's the same thing. Like if you've ever been single and you've had a boy or a girl come up to me and just say like, she's not great, and you almost come under confident and you're like, like I'm like all of this and act underconfident, it's going to be like a level playing field versus if there's a girl and I was not single anymore, but I've been single at 28, and it's like you come into a smoke show, you're like, she's way out of my league, and you come on super confident. It's the same thing. You're tricking that confidence shows off, and sometimes you can be held at a different level with the confidence, and it works in the same world, in the business world, and if I'm sitting in a room of people that are absolute killers, and it's funny because a lot of my network now is my best friends, they're killers. Like they're top level business people, and it's randomly that we just get along now. But when I first met them, I'm like, these guys are talking about like $100 grand, $200 grand. I'm like, I haven't even seen 40 grand before. And they have these huge amounts, and it just starts changing out and acting in that you just like shrug it off, and then you start getting used to it, and you start believing in that, and it kind of feeds into that point.
How do you not let the insecurity that drives you also not turn you into a complete dick though? Yeah,
that's true. Maybe I am a dick. No, I think there's a big push. I think it's I always have a line when I do posing. It's the same thing. You walk the line between confidence and cockiness. There's a fine line between you walk over and it's too much, and you walk behind and it's like the cockiness.
You're leaving something on the table. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I think it's the same with if you've got good intention, I think very early on I met a very successful chiropractor, funnily enough, and he pretty much said, he goes, if you're looking to help, this probably actually doesn't make too much sense now, but if you're looking to help someone, you're always going to do well. And it's the same thing. Like if I'm going there and I'm like, yes, I'm going to open a gym and trick them into these contracts and force them to sign into this for a 4-year contract and then take all their money, put a sign-up fee, put an exit fee and do it purely on that, I think my intention would come off a lot different. And then you're wearing that mask and you're wearing that, where I think I'm like the best prospect of, and it's funny because you have those line of haters and all of those type of things. And one of my best mates, he goes, for the nicest dude, I have no idea how you have so many haters, that it's just like a pure like jealousy lined up thing. But it's just wanting to, I guess, have the best experience with everyone. And for me, I'm very an empathetic person, that it is like, if I meet someone for the first time, it's like they're my best friend. And how can I help you? How can I be of service? How can I enhance your experience? And I think as soon as you start doing that and you add the confidence and all of that behind it, it's that you're almost the voice they want to hear. And I think that as soon as you start getting feedback on that and you're seeing that it's positive feedback, someone comes in, they're shy, they're insecure, and they come into me and I can read the situation and be that person for them that can be like, fuck up and lift, let's go this. I need you to do this now. You can start getting really good responses from it. It's also, I think, the intention. Like I'm not sitting here, like I could turn over quite a lot of money and I'm never buying a freaking Ferrari. Oh my, but it's like, it doesn't interest me. Like how the hell do you fit a surfboard in a Ferrari? It's this whole point of why I'm doing it is not for a money value. It's getting to the point where it's knowing, I guess, that all I'm after is full brand change of how you looked at your funeral, how are you held up to, what's your brand hold to. And I guess it's hard. Like if I sat there and I was at 18 and I'm just like, I really just want to earn money and I don't give a fuck about anyone and I don't care about the industry, it's probably hard to actually take any of that advice on and give my advice from that point. And I'll be like, I don't know. You can't, like, you're not going to be genuine. And especially the fitness industry, traveling the world, it was very funny. I think the athletes and influencers that come from the city versus the country. And I think even for me, like I'll go train on the other side of the city and they'll be like, hey, it's Jake. Either I get Jake the TikTok dude or Jake the Instagram dude or Jake just that dude, the skinny little bloody bodybuilder over there. And it's like you go to the city and you can see how that can feed the ego. And I think it's me being like in a different place that I've always grown up in the country and now being out and talking and things like that, you're like, oh, cool, I'll go to a fitness expo and you've got lines of people being like, hey, thanks, I've followed you for ages, and your ego is like pumping. Then you go home and you're in the middle of nowhere, no one gives a shit. Like some old guy will come up to me at the gym at my local thing and be like, hey, you took my fly machine, get off. And I'm like, all right, Jesus. So I think staying out of that bubble is the best thing. Like ego's never going to feed you. Like you can easily ego up and feed up. And to be honest, like I could say there were points that it's like you're looking at numbers and you're like, wow, I've had the same amount of people view this video that's in Australia and then the world. And then it's like, oh, that's a lot of people. And I think for me, it actually creates more fear than it does ego. Instead of being like, oh, you're so great, everyone must do all this, that I'm just like, why does everyone even give a shit? Like, and then you reverse engineer it again and go, well, you must be putting out valuable content. And then I think that kills the ego straight away. It's not me. Anyone can do it. I think it's, especially that it's not me. Like I'm nothing special. I'm a PT that counts to 12. I barely passed English. So I don't have big vocabulary and I don't have all these crazy things. So anyone with a brand and went through what I went through could do the exact same thing. So versus, I guess, if I was just jacked, massive dude and everyone was fluffing me off and then I'm like, sweet, yeah, I am the best. Maybe different. But I didn't place at my first bodybuilding show and then I won a world title purely from hard work. It wasn't anything to do with anything else. So I think, you walk that line between confidence and cockiness, and your skills and experiences give you the confidence, not the cockiness. For
sure. And on that note of work ethic, how do you think bodybuilding and being able to be successful in the space of bodybuilding has impacted your ability for your work ethic across multiple kind of disciplines?
It's everything. Yeah. It's everything. Like, it's bodybuilding, I think, well, it's not even bodybuilding, it's gym. What you learn from the gym is, and it's funny because I have the spiel when I walk through younger guys. I'm like, you're going to learn more in here than you'll learn anywhere. Like, I used to be a teacher, school's for fools, but not very well. But you learn failure, and you learn failure, you learn progression, you learn hard work equals results, you work consistency over a long period of time. These are all lessons that I think, and it's funny, like even working with people and doing a lot of face-to-face stuff is teaching people how to fail in the gym, because they'll like get to the point where they fail and they've never failed in life. They've always got A's. They've always done this, and they get angry because I wanted 12 and they only got 8. And it turns around, and then I'm like, oh, you do realize if you weren't doing that, I'm upping the weight until you do fail. So there's a point, I think, that bodybuilding's just an extreme level of it, that you can even take the lesson that there's never body finished. Like, they don't call it body finished, it's bodybuilding. So even I win a world title, I get off, I'm like, all right, cool, let me review. All right, what do I need to grow? And people like turn around, and even I ask judges, I'm like, hey, can I have some feedback on, and they're like, you won. What do you mean feedback? And it's like, this is bodybuilding, not body finished. So I think the mixture of that, of learning that, okay, from failure is growth, from consistency over time, brick by brick, we're building a wall, creates that character and building stocks that all kind of rolls into that confidence, and rolling up that. Then it's, I guess, the discipline side. And that's where probably now, like going through my 20s, looking back and things like that, and I've always been like, oh, I love no structure and I don't like anything like that. And now I'm having a kid in a couple months.
Exciting.
It gets to the point where, I start to think about, like, what do I need to put this kid through to have similar outcomes?
Yeah.
I don't want this little primped out, perfect little kid, but and they're not always great things. So there's points of, I think, like understanding that everything's within the discipline. And that comes off if the way that you're going to work ethic. If you work for yourself, I could just go and play PlayStation today. Sweet. That sounds like fun. But I've got all this shit that I've got to do to keep things going forward. So it's having the discipline to be able to do that, the discipline to go to train every day, the discipline to hold everything else. And I think that it's Jocko Willink is discipline equals freedom. And the more that I kind of think about that and look at that within the business sector, within the bodybuilding sector, within health and wellness, anything to do with that, discipline's key. And if you can understand what creates discipline, if it's intrinsic or extrinsic, or what motivates you to create a discipline that you can do something consistently long term, people will look at my life now and just be like, well, Jake's got a sick life. He's just in Bali for half the year already, and he's growing this and he's doing this, and it looks like he's hanging out surfing all the time. But they're not seeing the things that led up to that, and the 10 to 15 years before that, and the shit that I did before to build up to those points, and the skills that you earn along the way that are the value. And it's funny because you brought in that same thing before, and it kind of takes me back to everyone's talking, and there's a lot of Andrew Tate things talking, and it's a big thing, especially. It's funny because I talk to lots of younger kids now having the gym, but it's this high-value male, and it's a new common sector that's coming through Instagram and all these type of things, and it's, oh, I'm this high-value male. And I'm like, bro, you're 19, you live at home. How are you a high-value male? Like, you're 19. Like, what in your head is telling you you're a high-value male? Even for me, it's like, if I sat there and go, I'm a high-value male, well, there goes all my grind. There goes all my discipline. I think
it comes from your actions.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, gets to everything, and you sit there and you're like, well, okay, let's break down the high value. What can you, like, what skills have you got? What place have you got? And it's like, well, you might have good social skills. You might be that, but you're very beginning out. Even for me, I think always being a student of the game, and it's the same. If anyone asks me what I do, I'm a student. That's straight out what I do, because it's like, I'm running businesses, I'm doing all this, and whenever I fuck up or do something in the business, I go, bro, I'm a PT that can't count past 12. I don't know how the fuck I got here. Like, I'm running supplement, blending fucking protein, like running all these businesses simultaneously, and I'm like, I legit count to 12 for a living. And if I can get here doing this, why the hell can't you? That it's like always being on the back foot, I guess, is always going to add more value down the track, and keeping it that way.
So if you could distill what has made all of this work for you, what would it be? If you don't feel like you're necessarily intelligent, like what is it?
Hard work beats genetics. So unrelentless work ethic.
Okay. And what does that look like in a day? Like, what do you like? How much are you getting done? Like, how are you approaching your day?
I think it's not even on that. Like, I think it's back when it's, to put it in an example, when I was 18, 19, it's like I'm at uni studying 4 or 5 days a week while becoming a PT, running my own business PT, while working at a gym, while running spin and boxing, while lifeguarding at 4 different centers and doing that just to freaking scrape $600 together at the end of the week, while prepping for a bodybuilding show. Doing all that simultaneously, I think it's always, from a young age, I've created this, just grab a massive rock, roll it down the hill and just run. Yeah. Don't get crushed and you get faster. Sometimes it might catch up and you learn how to run faster. I think it's just keeping all that going together just makes a very, very big difference. So it's building that. Other than that, I don't think intelligence is a huge part. I think too many people can use that, like, especially in this era. It's not the smart people. Like, it's different smarts. For me, when I say I'm not intelligent, I'm not book smart. And I learned that going through the legit working in the education system and me going through the school, that I'm like, listen, I'm a circle, I ain't a square. Where other people would look at me and be like, well, Jesus, he codes his own websites, he creates his own content, he does all of this, he's very kinesthetic, he can run up and do a backflip, he can do all these different things with his body and understand movement and understand that. That's where you're smart. So when I come that, and I think I was very confused going through school because I'm not academically smart. I sit there, but then I've never had the intention to do it either. Like I'll sit there and probably I'm so futuristic in my head and I play all these scenarios out that I'm like, why am I doing maths? I have a calculator. Why do I need English? I'm legit Syrian. I don't type anything. I don't write anything. But my skills are creating, like, it's like your Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week, that I'm great at processes. I'm great at single click touch out. I'm great at looking at problem, and I had huge issues. Like, I'm a shit employee. Like, if anyone hired me, I'm terrible because I sit there and they're like, I want you to do it this way. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, I'm doing it this way and it's half the time. They're like, no, I want you this way. And the problem with that is it's just like, I think I'm way better. Like, it's almost like, I guess you'd call it like that entrepreneurial mindset that I like problems and I like solving them. I got hired once for, this is an office job, that I sat there and they're like, I want you to convert this PowerPoint to here and do this. And they're like, you've got a week to complete it. And I looked at it, just pressed like Apple A, Apple C, layered it all out itself and did it in about 5 seconds. And they like looked at me as I did it. I'm like, okay, that was the week. What else have you got? And they're like, we have nothing. Like, you just done a week's work in legit like 5 minutes with like a few clicks. So I just sat and watched YouTube for the rest of the time. So it's,
so funny.
Yeah, I think it's having that. And my day, when I say I outwork everyone, I think it's a competitive, something that I've probably built and always had within me. If that's skateboarding, I'm like, I want to be the best. I want to be the best person at this skate park. I want to go to this level. What are the pros doing? Let's try and do that. If it's bodybuilding, it's like, I want to be the best. If it's within business, I look at everyone else. I'm like, why are they doing that? Why can't I do that? Like, what difference does the big chains have against me? Okay, they're huge. Where'd they start? Okay. And then, again, the same work ethic that I had early. Like, we've got one of our biggest nutrition warehouse, one of the biggest companies in the thing. I'm like, sweet, just about to open, message. Who owns it? Grant Mayo. Find him. I'm interviewing him for a podcast thing. And then just work out his whole journey. And I'm like, sweet, I just contacted him. So I guess it's, again, having the relationships, having all those things that you can have that. You're not playing the same game, I guess, as everyone else. That's the thing. It's I could wake up and say that I wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 1, which I don't. A lot of the time it's like I've scheduled things down that I don't need to do that anymore. But there are days that I'm up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., finishing up. And when I'm like ADHD driven, I'm locked in on things. So it's, I guess, utilizing, instead of working out hours of a day, how much your work you're actually getting done. Like you compare, I'm just an advanced PT to your average PT who's been in the industry for 10 years. My 1 year for him is like fucking 5. I've done 6 years in the year that he's done 10.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's a stupid analogy.
Yeah.
So if they've got 10 years, my 1 year is like 4 of their years just because they're doing the bare minimum, where it's like as soon as I PT, I'm like, well, I don't like paying rent, so I'm going to own the gym. How do I own the gym? Do that. Run that way. How do I, like, even our gym equipment that I work through social media to get 70% discount, bang, buy it outright. So it's, again, having a relationship and understanding how the game works, so you're not playing the same game as everyone else. You're understanding that everyone's, and I think I learned it from such a young age with all that social psychology and things, is that everyone's human. Like if I really wanted something, I know the strings to pull on your heartstrings to be so likable that it's like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I'll help you out. And I think human, like I've probably got a very glass full approach to human civilization that I think everyone wants to help someone. Like if you, maybe not in America, but if you see someone hit by a car, you're pulling over and stopping. Or
I think most people even across the world want to help people for sure.
100%. If I message you and say, look, I want to learn everything you know on a DJ and I was so keen about it and you have helped me out, that it's like you're going to give me that advice. It's like nothing to you that's held so highly by other people.
So how does somebody who feels like they're, they know they're lazy, they know they're not doing anything with their life and they need to break out of it and they need to build, or they want to build a work ethic, how does someone create a work ethic?
Harden the fuck up. Nah.
I mean,
I always have a motto that like people are looking for, like they ask me a loaded question like that, especially in the gym and stuff, and I'm just like, don't be a pussy. That's pretty much the long answer. Get it done. I don't think it's not as simple as that, and that's the thing.
Check your test levels to begin with, and then get it done.
It doesn't even matter. Just get it done. I think there's a point. If you're not doing it, you don't want it. If you don't want it, what are you doing? Reverse engineer it. That if you get to the point where you're like, I want to be the greatest bodybuilder on earth, and you're only training 3 days a week, you're not going to be the greatest. Do you really want it? You want to earn $1 million, and you're playing PlayStation and watching Netflix and doing all these kind of things. It's like, and I think the hardest thing in talking to so many younger people is like, they're like, I want to be this real estate agent. And I'm like, why? Oh, because it pays all this money. I'm like, well, that ain't getting far. Like as soon as you take that intro, like I wanted to be an architect when I was in year 10 because I thought that they earned a lot of money. I know nothing about building. I hate drawing, but I'm just like, oh, there's a lot of money. And then it gets to the point where it's like, why? Like I don't care about train stations. So it's, I think, and for me, fitness, like I wasn't like that for fitness. I barely scraped through school, got into doing my Cert 3-4, went to VU to study becoming a PT, and even just scraped through that, like barely made it through where I had all the practical knowledge. I'm just not great at tests, not great at written things, too ADHD to sit in a room. So it's like, I understand it. It's just not practical. I'm not telling them the way they want me to tell it. So I think it's, understanding that putting the ball in your field. So if you're sitting there first, I'm lazy as shit. I'm playing all this PlayStation. I'm watching it, all the athletes perform. I think even that's the best thing is if you're watching sports, you're watching the AFL players, it does my head in. And it's just like, you could be playing or you can be watching. And I think from a very young age, it's like, well, maybe you don't want to go to the levels of what they do. That's cool. You can just use it for entertainment. But what's your vice of that? So sit down, be very honest with yourself, strengths, weaknesses, what do you need to work on, what can you leverage, what can you use, who's your connections, build them up from that. What can your connections leverage? What can their strengths, what their weakness, what's your connections? And it creates this, I guess, point from that, you've always got options that through the people, through your parents' friends, through their friends, that you can find something that I think you really give a fuck about and learn to expand on that. The same way we met. Like it's just you get through people of people and people of friends and getting diverged into their kind of lives and then expanding on that and leading down opportunities, and it's just that at scale.
Okay, cool. And just getting into this, I want to get into some specifics and some measurable things that people can take and hopefully add to their life moving forward. So let's dig into the gym side of things, bodybuilding in the gym. Do you know much about the, I think it's the Pareto principle, like the 80-20 principle, the idea that there's a few specific things that make major impacts and you generally focus on those big, high-moving things. What would be the 3 big needle movers to have success in growing in the gym and in bodybuilding?
Yeah. I don't like it. The 80-20 rule. So people say the same thing, that they're like, oh, it's 80% nutrition, 20% training, and it's 80% compound and 20% isolate. And I always reply with, I'm like, no, if you want to be successful, it's 100% nutrition, 100% training, 100%, it's both. There's no quick fix. Like, my job is entailed while I'm going to be employed, not transferred via AI, is because there is no quick fix. You can't take one pill that's going to give you a six-pack. You can't take one thing to advance in your exercise. So I'll flip it on the head a little bit and give you some foundations that you can
so
use,
what are the key foundations?
Yeah. So key, instead of being like a deadlift, a pull-up, and a leg press, hit them 7 times a week and you'll be jacked. It's just straight up like nutrition, I'm going to use 5. So I call them the pillar, 5 pillar that hold up a house. So any of these pillars crack, everything crumbles and you're going back onto the couch to watch your Netflix. So training, nutrition, mindset, motivation, sustainability. Those 5 pillars hold everything up. And for me, I've developed these in the last year since opening a gym, and this is my sales pitch. But it's pretty much that anything of those crack. So if your diet's unsustainable and you're eating nothing but meat, it crumbles. Your motivation's then going to crumble. You're going to have no energy in the gym. That crumbles. And then your nutrition falls off and everything crumbles. If your nutrition falls off, then you're not getting the training. You're saying, I'm not getting results. Motivation flicks off. Mindset flicks off. Sustainability drops off. Any of those pillars crumble, training, nutrition, mindset, motivation, sustainability, on any of your principles, nutrition, training, work, anything like that, is going to be the vital, continuous way to go forward. I think I don't really care if you do CrossFit, you can go and break your back. If you're sustainable and you're in it for the long term, you're going to see results. Like if you're doing this weird strength training and you're doing all this powerlifting where you're just going to lift until you snap, well, if it's something you love and it's something to do with fitness and your diet's half well, you're going to get the results that you're pushing for. So I think where everyone gives up very early on is they get into the gym, New Year's resolution, January 1st, they're like, sweet, this is 2024 is my year. They walk in, they last 2 weeks, they're like, this ain't working, too much effort and time, so stuff it, I'm done. And it's, I guess, putting the ball in your court using those pillars of being like, okay, I'm taking a photo on day 1. This is what I look like. I'm doing girths. I'm putting a weight measurement around my chest, around my waist. I'm putting a contract to myself that I'm showing up 5 days a week. I'm at least sticking 5 days a week to my diet, and then on the weekend I'm going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to watch and keep the scale. So what you're doing is actually putting motivation. You're seeing progress on a weekly basis. You've got the photos to ensure that. Mindset, well, they're kind of working. Once you see progress, you're going to be more motivated. Something that's sustainable. Don't just eat meat. If you can, don't look at it as a diet. Look at it as a change of life. As soon as you look at it that way, that you're like, oh, shit. As soon as people say diet, they're already planning on freaking Maccas that they're going to eat once they break it. So just be like, this is how it is now. Full stop. All right, can I eat this for the next 772 days? Okay, if that's sustainable, cool. I've still got my weekends where I can go and instead of eating out 6 days a week, I'm eating out 1 day a week and I'm going to enjoy it. So it's putting those principles, they're going to make the big change. Like it's easy. Like to be honest, and I work with so many people and have done that. Everyone comes in and like people walk into my gym angry that they're like, I've done everything. It doesn't work. I've done this challenge. I've put on more weight and I'm broken. And I'm like, well, it's very simple. Like eat a lot of clean food. We know when we're eating like an asshole. Train, make sure you burn off the food. End of story. Don't starve yourself. Don't calorie deficit into nothing. Don't eat nothing but fish. Don't eat nothing but meat. Don't go on no weird diet. Even I had a client the other day and she's like, oh, you're on the eating healthy diet. I go, what? She's like, eating healthy diet. And I'm like, no, I just eat healthy. I've done this for 30 years now. Like, it's very, very consistent. And maybe I'm blind because I grew up in the fitness industry and it's a little harder, and I don't think that gummy bears taste as good as everyone else. But it's understanding that there's a lot that goes into it, and breaking the same way, breaking habits, breaking what you've done. And I think it is, to be honest, I like the New Year's resolutions, because people think that this whole changed year, and even though it's another day, that is their time that they're going to change their environment. And it's the same thing. If you can change your environment, have the discipline, have everything, that you're actually going to stick to it for once in your freaking life, you're signing yourself a contract, you're imagining where you're going to be. And it's the hardest thing, because even for me, you're selling a dream. Like, I go and I'm like, oh, cool, this is what you're going to look like. This is how it's going to be. You're going to have all this. Yes, it's going to be fucking hard to get there, but have you ever climbed Mount Everest? It's pretty hard to get up there, but the view's amazing. So you're not going to think about all that hard work and it's the same as a bodybuilding show. Like, how many people be like, oh yeah, I got on stage and I remember doing cardio at 5 a.m. and grinding and crying on the ground because I'm sweating and really like struggling. And it's like, no, you just remember me up there with my golden trophy and being like, this is sick. So you don't remember the shit times. It's the same thing, that if you can develop those principles, really find it within yourself that you're going to hold commitment. That's why I like things like 75 hard, other than it's not sustainable, but things that really kick you into gear, that if you fail something a little bit below something like 75 hard, you're still on the moon. Like, it's still more better than the average person. Change your lifestyle, change your people around you. Everyone's going to hate on you for doing something. It's a pretty toxic thing when people get really good results, because it's like a shining spotlight on other people that failed that exact same thing. So you're going to find, like, the amount of people that I find turning on people that are making changes, everyone, it's so easy to make excuses. I think that's the biggest thing. If it's Easter, it's like New Year's resolution. Everyone comes in, they're like, New Year's resolution, this is my year. Oh yeah, but after Australia Day, we've got 25 days. Then Australia Day comes, it's Labor Day actually after that. Oh wait, no, 2 weeks Easter. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, fuck me, it's July. Oh, it's winter. I don't want to do that now. It's like, 2025, New Year's resolutions. This is my year. So I think it doesn't even matter. If you can really just get to the point and take something out of it, and you just go, day one, this is it. This is, even people use Monday, but it's like, day one, we're in. These are the terms: training, nutrition, mindset, motivation, sustainability. Let's lock this in. Okay, who's going to hold me accountable? You know what? I'm making an Instagram post. Bang, on my journey, #gains. And then from there, it's like, now you're put it out there to the world. It's not some little secret that you can just brush under the rug, to hold some accountability to it.
Okay. So basically the key pillars, and then being accountable with people in your life. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, I talk to my coaches all the time, and we're in this world that everyone's getting replaced by AI. Everyone's finding value. Like, I used to build websites as well. Like, you can do Spotify for $60 and it builds it for you. So everyone's getting replaced, but I'll never be replaced because I'm not like, everyone looks at me and they're like, oh, you're a coach, you're a PT, you count reps, you do that. And it's like, even I tell my coaches, I'm like, oh yeah, no, we don't really do anything with training and nutrition. We're legit accountability. Like, we are the points of accountability. No one, like, even me, online coaches, no one sticks to this PDF plan unless it's got some value held to it of accountability, of me going, hey, you didn't check in. On the face-to-face mask, it's the exact same thing. If you can hold accountable to someone, and if that's getting a coach, if that's holding to your mum, if that's holding to your friend, if that's putting money in a jar, whatever your advice is for attempting accountability, that is the number one thing that people fail at. Because as soon as you lose that, then it's just like all your pillars are going to crush.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that personally with my my successors. The moment I have someone,
I was going to message you and say, I want to see the handstands. Where are they?
Yeah, well, I injured my shoulder, so I cooked my rotator cuff being silly in the gym and trying to do muscle ups without warming up, and I cooked it. So I've been, it's been a like 6 month fucking process to get back to normal, but we're like probably 80%. Yeah, we're probably 80% the way there. That being said, though, I've been taking BPC 157, and that shit has fucking like that. just improve my shoulder.
Oh, really?
Do you know about
What's
this?
that like nah.
It's a peptide.
This is the thing. I am so natty that
Yeah.
people say numbers and stuff, and I'm like,
I don't know.
I'll be
Yeah,
like,
it's a peptide. So
Yeah.
it's a peptide that like has a really, really strong ability to kind of heal your body, and it goes where it needs to go in your body. And I took it, and
similar
in a
to
week,
like a stem cell or something like that.
not as intense.
PMP or things.
Yeah,
okay.
not as intense. So I took that, and it just like has improved my gut. It's improved my shoulder. It's helped me sleep better. It's like, anyway, so I'm working on it. I'm almost there. Like I did a couple of handstand sessions, but nothing too crazy. I haven't got to the point where I can dip again, but we'll get yeah. Hey,
shoulders, hips, and knees are things that once they go, they take a while to come back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been fine though. It's been an opportunity to focus on like core. So normally I wouldn't do core workouts, but all I'm doing is core and lower body. So I'm doing way more of that, which I think in the long run will help with the calisthenics anyway. So
yeah,
it's fine. It's all good.
And you've got to be balanced. I think the perfect body is a band of like all elastic bands pulling in simultaneous motion. So you don't want to just chest only. You don't want back only. If you just do handstands and you're shoulder dominant, no leg dominant, you're going to start to pull yourself in balances and things like that. So it's having that balance. And then if it becomes so imbalanced, that's when you start injuring yourself or something starts going or things like that. And it's really weird. Like me doing what I do, flips, calisthenics, Ninja Warrior, all these crazy skateboarding, things like that. I've never had an injury, I've never pulled a muscle, I've never had a stitch. It's just, I think everything really balanced within either balanced or great at falling in style in that way.
Yeah, well, it probably ties into just living healthily as well, and it'll, there's less inflammation in your body, and you've just been on the right path for a long time, and that compounds. So, I got one more question, and then I'm conscious of time, and we could do like a rapid fire and call it. But
sweet.
With the content world that you've been a part of, like how there's two parts of this question. The first part is like, how has content tied into your success in bodybuilding and business? And then the second part of it is, what lessons could you impart on people who want to get into content and kind of move in a direction where maybe they're having more influence in the world?
Yeah. So I think that's been my driver. Like there's no way I could have clients in New Zealand, India, America, all across the world without having a reach and a platform. And I think, again, it's being down the big pity hole of content that it's can be a very damaging way if you go about it in the wrong way, where you're basing yourself off likes, basing yourself off views, basing yourself on very analytical numbers and things like that, and putting that to your self-esteem and certain things that don't do well, and then you delete them because you're like, oh, no, this flopped, bing. And it's same advice that I have with anyone starting that same kid being like, I'm like, you need to start recording everything on TikTok. And he goes, oh, but what happens if it doesn't get views? I'm like, you don't have any followers. Why would it get views? I'm like, keep doing it, post 50 times consistently, and then it's going to, and then come and chat to me and you might have 5 views. But it's the same thing. I think for me, using it as coming in my whole career it's just been a journey for me. Like YouTube, you can scroll back to before YouTube was monetized and things like that, and it's 11 years back of my whole fitness career. And from a very young age, I'm like, why are you creating these stupid YouTube videos that you're walking through? And like, you can watch my first ever comp prep where I did the whole comp prep through, and I go back and watch it sometimes, and I'm like, I've understood from a very young age that this is what my grandkids are going to see, and my grandkids, they're going to be like, hey, who was great-great-granddad? Oh, sweet. I've got his whole freaking life on YouTube. Like there's over 300 long-form videos of traveling India and how I went to all the expos and all of these type of stuff. And like I've got videos that's like message to my grandkids. And I think that's going to be that internal, like in this world, that's what things going to be remembered by. Like I have no idea who my great-granddad was. So it's like, other than a name on a little family tree, that you're going to be able to give that lessons, give those personalities, give all of those things that's going to outlast you. And maybe I understood that from day dot. And I'm like, all my content had purpose. All of it did it. Like Instagram blew up, but my long form YouTube didn't blow up for 10 years. And I had 300 episodes and put all my time into that. So on the brand side, yeah, I obviously built everything accidentally. Like this wasn't meant to be made for that thing. It was purely for channeling my journey and following where I started. And that's probably because I was so early that no one was making money through content, or no one was doing social media marketing. No brands had an Instagram. And then it slowly started flowing on, and now it's gone pretty freaking wild. But it's everyone kind of wants to have that impact and have that influence for the sake of being an influencer. Like I think, yes, it's great if everyone has this new age is your Instagram, everything is your brand. That's what everyone's going to talk about. That's what everything's going. But I see in the next 5 years, it's going to really flip on your head, and it's going to be about the value of content that you produce, not the overall following and things like that. I think Instagram, a lot of my friends with high social media accounts are not getting any social interaction or things like that. So brand deals are flopping and things, everything from that. So it's understanding where your algorithm's at, understanding why you want to create this. If it's purely just I want to make a shit ton of money, so I'm going to do this to leverage, you're going to struggle because you're going to have to do it for a long time for free. And there's not going to have a lot of organic value and things like that. If you can sit there and go, I think the best advice when I very started out with a big social media guy, he said, don't even worry about blowing up. He's like, just focus on your small, tiny micro town. What can you put out that's going to help them? And I was like, sweet, let's just put everyone in my town. How can I help grandma? How can I help all these type of people? And then accidentally what you realize is this is a worldwide planet. I go to India and I'm walking in a gym in India and they're like, hey, Jake. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. When you have the numbers that and there's been points that I sat there, I'm like, oh, this TikTok flopped. It only had 1 million views. And then it's like, because all my other ones went to 30 million. And you're just sitting there, you're like, that amount of people in a room that you just, and the best thing is now you can go on analytics and see how many hours that you've wasted of other people's time. And it's like, holy hell, I have damaged a lot of people. So it's the same thing. I think I started creating my TikTok because I was always doing funny kind of skit things on my stories on Insta, just because I'm like, oh, this is funny. Let's just film this. People like this. And then it just happens that the algorithms changed into short form content and started promoting a lot better. YouTube's great now. It pays me money. But it's the same thing, that it's just recycle, find a value, find a niche, give as much value you can to them, brand them out and blow that way. If you want to start, that's the best way to go. In the end, if you can create a great brand, it's the same thing as if you drop flyers around. It's the same new media that if you can kind of create, I guess, a money machine from that point, if you were getting in the business, you kind of need to have it now.
And how much time a week do you spend on content between like editing and filming? And
normally,
ideas?
if I'm in full force, 80% of my life's content.
Okay.
Like if I'm in
like
full
30
force,
hours a week.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like it's funny. Like a Gary V, document, don't create. This is the biggest thing. As soon as you put that in your head, the people are like, oh, who gives a fuck about my life? I have nothing to share. And as soon as I just go, oh, cool, document, don't create. So already my biggest video is a video, like it's blown up. It's probably had, I don't know, like probably 300 million views, was something I wasn't going to post. And I just I'll just throw it up there. Like the monetization money that I've earned is the biggest ever, just because I was like, I was doing this surf thing at this expo and it's me on this like brushboarding thing. And it's just every time I put it up, it just blows. So it's like, and I wasn't even going to post it. So, and it was lucky someone was just filming me on it on my phone. So it's having that same point where document, don't create. Whatever you're doing, you're going out, you're having your coffee, you're doing a day in the life. Whatever you care about, I guarantee someone cares about, no matter how weird it is. And there's so many opportunities. Do you just do it on
your phone as well?
What was it? Oh, yeah.
Do you just do it
100%.
Just on
like
no cameras?
My best mount, everyone, that's the other access of starting. Everyone's like, oh, I need I hate these fucking mics because they put them in the weirdest spots mics, and they drop. I'm like, Steve Jobs died to create an amazing mic. You got headphones, you've got all these different things that started the bear. You don't need anything. Like, yeah, great, I do have a really good camera now and I do that. And to be honest, my iPhone stuff does way better and it's so much easier. And the more production you go, the more headaches you get. But I started legit with my trusty shoe mount and just putting my phone in my shoe and putting it on anything and just getting the film from that. Starting off that and just film everything. Like if I'm starting off, and again, I've created over 100K on 3 different platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If I'm starting an account, I just understand. I'm like, cool, all right, I'm going to post every day for the next 6 months in what the algorithm does if it's a short content. And let's see what happens after. And straight away people are like, I can't be fucked doing that. So it's like, all right, and then in my head, as soon as I say that, I'm like, oh, well, if someone like me is out there doing 6 months, well, now I've got to double it. So let's do 2 pieces of content, morning and night, for the next 6 months to outdo that person. And that's probably like my competitive drive, things like that. It's worked really well. My girlfriend's got a beauty business as well, and we've implemented a lot of those strategies within that. She's blowing up now within a wedding niche, Grunt HQ. We're running it through a lot of different I used to run like a Instagram marketing agency type of deal. Like I had time for that. But exact same thing, that it's understanding where the algorithm is, where the value is, like the biggest question, and it's the same with anything. What are you going to, like if I'm providing something, what is people getting from my content? Everyone misses the mark. What value can I give to everyone? That's always, no matter what, if it's in business, if it's in fitness, if it's in content, what is people getting out of my value being here?
Yeah, it's a hard one to find for some people because, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily have things that they know about the world that will add value, and I think you need to kind of start with creating some skills.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like even it's the same thing. I had a conversation with the amount of conversations I have that I'm like, oh, that should have been recorded. That's sick. But the same guy, one guy got off drugs, got off alcohol, comes in, and I'm like, mate, start filming that. Just tips, top tips for alcohol. Bang, goes viral. The amount of parenting things that is just like, oh, I just had a kid. Oh, these are the weird things. Bang. I create just weird things. Like the other day, I just put on my Instagram, I'm like, why is there shopping carts in the car park? I'm like, that is a nightmare. Why wouldn't you get your shopping cart and put it back? And I'm just like, there's something there. Why? Like, it just doesn't make sense in my head. So it's finding weird things in the world that it's like, if you don't have to be humor, you don't have to be extroverted. It's just you experiencing the world is pretty interesting for someone in America. If you're in Australia, you're like, hey, I'm going to the beach. Look how I'm going to rate the best beaches in Victoria. Someone in America is like, oh, this is sick. Like, I love Australia. Bang. Like, it's everything is value, even your like crazy shit that you don't care about. Like, look, mate, there is people making money streaming on Twitch, like, playing games. Legit. And they make it killings and they have the highest views out of anyone, and they're playing Fortnite. Like, people are watching someone play a game. You're not playing the game yourself. You're watching someone else play the game. So it's like you said that 10 years ago, people would laugh at you. So it's it's crazy finding things like that.
I'm out of curiosity on specific stuff. With your YouTube content now, do you do that on your phone as well? Because it's like vertical versus horizontal, but you'll still...
Yeah, everything's vertical. So if I were to get into the base bare tips, is anytime I film is filming off the phone. Don't use CapCut. It's owned by TikTok. There's metadata between it's filmed. I have to individually post it on each individual platform. Don't save it from Instagram Reels. It's going to know in between each platform. So understanding that, understanding time of day, understanding things, they're all like, again, skills that will help. But it's the biggest thing is like you can go and watch all these skills on YouTube on how to do this and how to add this, and it's the same people that go and read how to do a push-up and how to what the perfect diet is, and then they go and eat Maccas or they don't go and do it. So it's first creating, I guess, the content, everything vertical. And again, I test things like my own. It's the same way with what I do with my clients. It's the same way why I post. In my head straight away, I'm like, I'm posting every day for 6 months. I guarantee at that 6 month, you're going to be better at posting content than you were on day one. Yeah. And you're going to be shit on talking. You're going to be all of this. You're going to be working out after how many days? Bloody, let's just say 150 days. you're going to know what works. You're going to know what blows up. You're like, oh, I just posted the exact same thing twice, one vertical, one horizontal, vertical worked. So I think my skill, especially like I started when it was like Musically, TikTok. And everyone's like, why are you on TikTok? It's full of kids. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm promoting, like without saying like a weirdo. I knew exactly my crowd. I knew exactly what I was promoting, and I just copied what they did on YouTube, and everyone blew up on YouTube. Saying YouTube Shorts came out, and they're like, oh, this is going to be this isn't going to work. And I'm like, well, they're just copying TikTok. So I just do what I do on TikTok on that, and it just continuously grows. And the monetization, again, it's great, but it's like a donation to what I do because I'm doing it anyway. Even the gym, I always say to people, I'm like, oh, it's good that I'm PTing you're here because if not, I'd be here yelling at you anyway. So I'd just be hanging about. They'd have to kick me out.
For sure.
So, yeah, I think just having those skills, but best things I found, vertical video, created on, like even with my $5,000 professional camera, iPhone does better. Posting usually within the US time zone, and making sure you're like it depends on like YouTube hashtag. Don't put your hashtags in the comments. It's just playing where they always swap it around. Have a hook. So the first 2 seconds has to be something weird or something that's going to draw an eye, no longer than 15 seconds. Usually after that, like in this new short-term forum, anything I create around something like that, very quick hook, story, ending, usually ends something comical, it's going to do well. Like I could just straight away, I look at things, I'm like, all right, this is going to do well. Like I just know exactly the right recipe, and then I just copy it tenfold.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm keen to get into a couple of rapid fires, and I got to go in a couple of minutes. So
that's all right. Hit me.
It's been good. So what's the biggest thing over the last 2 years that you've changed your mind on?
Structure and discipline.
More or less?
Way more. I used to be like, just wake up, let's see what happens with the day. Now I don't have the freedom to do that. So I think structure and discipline is two things that it's kind of been like slowly. I used to try and fight it. Now it's like absolutely my bare base bones. Like it's my foundation to everything.
And what's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you?
This is hard. That's like something like that is super hard. Like for me, I don't like looking backwards. I'm just so front running that it's just like, as soon as I start looking and being like, oh, that was nice. How? I guess I'm going to just have to say, like, me, I'm just like, I'm already, fuck, what are you talking about? I'm already so far ahead. Kind of seeing probably my mum giving birth.
Yeah, that's a good start. Try it over again, right?
Putting me there, either or.
Yeah. And what advice would you give yourself from 10 years ago?
10 years ago, if I had 18-year-old Jake, I'll just say stay super consistent, stay exactly where you are. And the path's going to lead you there. Like stay, again, utilize your hard work, push into your strengths, avoid your weaknesses. Don't let anything kind of hold you down. That's probably the biggest thing is don't let your environment hold you down. Don't let where you grew up hold you down. Don't let people's thoughts of what you can actually achieve hold you down, because every time you beat them, they put them higher. They set the bar higher until you start beating all of them, and then they turn around and they're like, fuck it. Yeah, you know what? You always win. So why does it surprise me? You never get that push. You never get the good job. You're fucking killing it. It's always going to be either a bar up or then it's push down.
What would be one book that you would recommend to somebody if they could only read one book for their whole lifetime?
I don't read 280 HD. What waste of time?
Fair enough.
That's the thing. Even when it comes down to time versus aspect, it's like legit the amount of time that I could invest in reading a book versus doing the actions and then fucking up along the way. It's like, or audio, to be honest, like podcasting, audio books, I can do something while listening. I am way too ADHD to sit down and read. In saying that, I've read one book, and that was at School of Greatness when I was 19, and then I didn't finish it. I got like 30 pages in, did the first activity, and never came back to it. So I think the rest of it could be good.
Is there like a piece of content that you've consumed, whether it's a video or something that really impacted you in the most major way possible? Yeah.
So old school, my first video I remember watching is Mark Fit. So no one knows of him anymore. He was such one of the OG YouTubers. And he had a video called Change Your Life, and he was just shredded to the bone. And I looked at that and I was like, that's what I want to do. And I showed my dad, I'm like, do you reckon he's natural? And Dad goes, probably. And he wasn't even lean. I was like, that was my one goal in life. And then
shredded.
from there, yeah, get shredded. And then from that, I remember, and it's funny because I've got his signed T-shirt just hanging up in my every day in my office. That it's just like no, and it sucks because no one knows who he is anymore because he's fallen off. But it's a mix of that. Greg Plitt, who's also died. So I think again having those mentors, the Gary V's of the new age, the Alex Hormozi's of the new age on the business side, looking at those people like Jocko, like Goggins, a little bit, take it with a hint of salt, and then the old school versions of them definitely have kind of shaped and led me, I guess, in the right direction where I don't have a lot of those mentors early on. And again, you don't have to pay them for some stupid course. It's like, even I'm like, I legit, my whole fitness philosophy, and if you consume every piece of content that I've done, you'd know what I know.
Yeah.
So you don't actually need to hire me. You're just too lazy to go through all my fucking content.
Yeah,
so,
people don't want to do it, yeah.
No, they want the quick answer, which is what makes me a living, I suppose.
For sure. And what's one change that somebody could do in their life today to begin to live a life similar to yours?
Yeah. Straight away, I think it's action. Like, if you were just to be honest, let's just say you're even just starting out, you're not even in the fitness industry, and you're like, I want to follow down the straight paths. Mentors and action. Just message me. Bang. Same thing as I did. With knowledge is power, even though I don't read books. But reach out to the people, wherever you want to be. I think the best thing is just reverse engineer. Where do I want to go? All right, I want to be this person. Okay, how do you get there? Cool. Who do you message early? Where do you start? Oh, cool. He was sleeping here. All right, sweet. Let's just follow the path. And it's like the path of least resistance is one that's already been walked. You can just follow it. It's exactly everything's gone out. So versus like even my world, there's no online coaching or things like that. We just had to kind of fucking actually make room and start that path. But these days it's like, oh, cool. I want to be a DJ. YouTube. How to be a DJ. Oh, I want to start a business. YouTube. How to start a business. And same with fitness. You've got all of this content out there that there's no excuse. Like right now in the world, it's the easiest time to succeed. Like it's never been better. Like everything's cheap. Shopify's cheap. Online marketing is cheap. Like there's no excuse.
Is cheap.
Attention's free. It's not even fucking cheap. You don't have to pay for it. You can create organic social media stuff of just great, putting on some great leggings and bang, you're selling through the roof. So there's no excuse other than like if you have time, like everyone, it's that time factor of being so valuable with your time and putting it all in the right place and discipline that the amount of people times everyone like Netflix is straight going up. Like the amount they're not going backwards anytime soon. So it's telling me there's more attention in paid media and things like that, which is less attention elsewhere. So it's spending the time, and it's perfect. Like I even said to one of my workers, and he's like, oh, I just love spending like 2 to 3 hours playing games and PlayStation and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I used to love games too, but I'm like, but then I was realizing I was spending all this time leveling up my character and not my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, huh? Like, it's exactly the same. It's a game. You go out, you go do missions, you go learn things that will level up your character, so then you can do that.
Yeah,
but then you come out to a shit life. So it's like spending that time, I think,
For sure, I'm the same. I haven't. I used to play video games flat out and got pretty good at it, and then now I don't have time because my life is a game and I'm just playing life.
Player one mentality. Like, I was killing Clash of Clans. Like, I was like leveling up, and it's just like endless games like that. And I know the same. Like, my addictive personality is I'll get ruined. So, and it's not like don't do anything and be so disciplined that you're living the structured life that you're not having fun. It's just the point where when you do, you're going to invest in it. All right, if I work this, I can play games from 11 to 12. It's if I go out on the weekend, it's like I'm going to earn. I'm not going out every weekend. It's like that rare time that I go out and I enjoy it. If I eat out, it's enjoying it more because I'm doing that. And it's the same thing. Like I can go now and because I worked so hard in my 20s, I can just go, you know what, next week I'm going to Bali. Let's just go and have a breath. Bang. And it's having the ability, I guess, to then enjoy your life at such a different level. Like it's my 30s is going to be the best years of my life because I've got the opportunities. I can just sit there and I'll go, whatever I want to do is it's like the foundation that I've put in over the last 10 to 20, like 10 years, that's if I wanted to sit on my hands, it's going to feed into the rest. And the things I've invested in and the things that I've kind of built can just roll over without a lot of work ethic. So, but for me, it's like, oh, I want to double it and then triple it and keep going. I think that's just a bit of my sickness.
Fair enough. So what are you, is there anything you're excited about at the moment you want to let the listeners in on? And how can people find you if they're interested?
Yeah, so I'm having a baby soon. That would be kind of cool, kind of exciting, a whole different world, see if I sleep. Add something else into it. And again, even that, like, that's just like life putting things in. It's like, mate, you're ready. Let's go. Bang. Bit of a surprise, but it's like it's great that everything, it's like the first time that I haven't felt broke. It's hit me with that one. So it's going to be a cool experience. And again, I've always been a big believer that if I'm having kids, is I want to do it right. I want to put the value into the kids and spend the time and, again, share what I've done and share with the knowledge and use it as a foundation to build upon it. So that's exciting. We've got gym coming. We've got,
what's the gym called?
So it's called Grunt HQ. We put out – so my idea behind that is it's Grunt HQ is like Abel Fit. It's supplements. It's a cool place to be. All of those, but mostly it's providing education for the long term. So if you're in Brisbane, if you're all around the world, we're putting up content that actually is going to be valuable for the long term. And that's just off the background of everything we do know and all of our understanding. And there's so much confusion out there that at least we can be that place that everything's based and locked. Other than that, you type my name, you'll find me, and I'm not the actor. So it's
I looked up the actor today when I was doing some notes.
It's usually the actor and then me. But it's I've got TikTok, everything's Jake Abel official. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I'm just going to start on a content run again. Like I've had a quiet 6 to 12 months while this gym kind of comes up and investing in my kind of close network for those guys, giving as much value as I can to them. And now it's just, again, like I've just leveled up with how much I've learned going back to face-to-face. And like I was an online coach for 9 years. So reinvesting back into more face-to-face and understanding people and understanding the new era problems, I think has leveled me up so much more. So that's super exciting. And then this time next year, I don't know, I could be freaking gym 2. I could be in Bali. I could be somewhere else. It's just, I think it's month by month. It's seizing opportunities, seeing where I kind of go, and trying to, again, level up. I think that's the biggest fear of mine ever is making sure that my year, I'm not living my best year. That next year is going to be a better year. Next year is going to be a better year. Next year is going to be a better year. We're leveling up on a business. We're leveling up on my body for bodybuilding. We're leveling up on my personal life and et cetera, et cetera.
Sounds good. And the last question, what do you think the meaning of a life is?
The meaning of life is to make it so worthwhile you actually freaking being here. Do not waste. Don't be an oxygen thief. That's pretty much out of 30 years. To the world. Well, there's two people. There's just consumers and creators. And I think there's nothing wrong with just kind of being around, but why? What purpose have you had? What learnings? We all started in different places. Yes, we all do have 24/7 hours in a day, but it's like that's not even. So it's not utilizing excuses. It's not having anything that's going to hold you back to actually allow you to progress and actually be something to someone. If that's one person that you help, if it's someone that you pull out of a gutter, if it's something that you might smile, and it's the same way. Like I hold myself very in that, like aware of that if I'm checking out at a freaking grocery store and I've had the shittest day, I'm saying, thank you. You have an amazing day, because that's not about my purpose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Improving
my whole
life.
purpose is what can people come off me? Like it's not like I can hold this shit and have shit days and do things like that, but I'm not going to project that out everywhere else. And really, at the basis, money doesn't go with you into the grave. Legacy does. Outlive everything from there. So you'll find that legacy and monetary value, I think, go hand in hand on a nice correlation. So be a good cunt and things will happen.
I love it, Jake. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you a lot.
For sure.
You go.
We'll have to catch up soon. For
Yeah,
sure.
let's do it before I leave. And look, for anybody listening, please like, subscribe, give the podcast a rating. It helps us a lot. Until next time.
See you guys soon. You.